The information provided on this show does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice. Instead, all information on this show is for general informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for legal advice, and we recommend viewers consult an attorney for specific legal matters.
Welcome to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer. We're like 2 minutes late because there's been so much breaking condo news in the
Where do we start
and
today?
just so much
news
going
in
on.
general.
Yeah, you're going to learn so much in this show, and we're very thankful because we have wonderful sponsors. They're fantastic. They truly offer the best services in South Florida, including our diamond sponsor, Best Roofing. And of course, Eric Glazer is board certified in community association law by the Florida Bar. And he has a law firm here, Glazer and Sachs, in Hollywood and Orlando. And of course, we're here each week to answer all the questions and issues about life in your condominium. That makes it absolutely crazy from 1 minute to the next. And we want to get the phone lines going, of course, 717-GLAZER-8. That's toll free, 717-452-9378.
Hey, before we move on and talk about our sponsors, what's nice now is I'm actually doing seminars with them at their facilities and stuff,
nice.
and online with them. So we're going to start. I think, Rob, you came up with let's start promoting all of that. So there's even going to be more seminars for our viewers to go to. But you're right. There's a lot to go to. And before we move on, you're not holding any of the cards.
I am.
No, you're not holding any. No. Okay, never forget.
Condo owners aren't holding the
condo.
cards.
We're going to learn that today. You guys are really not holding any of the cards right now, and we're gonna move on to that.
You're gonna feel it soon.
I don't know what that was. You're gonna feel. Yeah, the condo owners are feeling it already, but I have no idea what that remark meant.
Threat.
Yeah, I don't get it, but okay, for another day, right? All right, everybody, we're all over the place. But if you're a fan of the show, don't forget to subscribe to two things. Number one, of course, the Condo Craze and HOAs YouTube channel, where you don't have to just watch the show live. You can watch it at your convenience. I think we got over like 150 shows on there.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, please subscribe to our email list. Really important. By subscribing to our email list, you get announcements about the show, updates on the law. We're going to be talking about a lot of the bills that have been filed. There's going to be updates on that and a whole lot more. As you know, we send out a lot of emails every week. So join that by going to condocrazeandhoas.com. And of course, we do a blog every single Monday, basically. Tomorrow's blog, you're going to have some fun with it. AI, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh,
okay?
wow.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
By the way, if you want to ask questions, you can also ask in the chat. Some people call and ask in the chat, and it usually gets answered.
Yes.
One question per person.
Now, we had a topic planned for today that was going to talk about what happens when you sell your unit, what your responsibilities are. But a couple of things broke.
You're not going to be able to sell your unit.
You're right, exactly. You're not going to.
So that's a moot point.
Yeah, you don't have to know what
so
you have
don't
to
even worry about that.
Right, but, before we start, I just want to wish my sister Eileen and brother-in-law Yalom a happy 50th wedding anniversary.
Woo!
Today is the day, so.
Golden.
Happy 50th wedding anniversary, you two. Okay, as we were saying, two bombshell stories, really, I would consider them, in the last 24 hours. Okay, one is as we are sitting here right now, it's on the front page. If you go to NYPost.com, it's on the front page of the website of the New York Post. And it talks about how the Florida condo market is crashing as a result of the required repairs and reserves that we now have to do. And I got to tell you, not good, because Floridians, who have we looked to kind of buy our units now? It's New Yorkers.
Right.
And, and people, New Yorkers are coming down here with cash.
It's 1.1 million condos that are over 30 years old. So they're the ones that are paying these huge reserves or trying to fix their building now.
Yep.
And where are they located? Where the retirement is, all along the southeast coast, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, and then the southwest part of Florida. So it's like half the condos in the state are in trouble.
Ironically, if you look at today's article in the Post, who are the areas that they're focusing on? Right where we're sitting right now: Hollywood,
Yeah.
Hollandale, Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and of course Dade County. Very, very difficult to read. I mean, it shows. You have the figures in front of you. I think
Yes.
condos that
This
were
is-
going for like 400.
Oh,
and now
my
in
gosh. So,
twos.
you have the Cricket Club in Miami. It's a 50-year-old building.
Right.
Waterfront, of course.
Yes.
Each condo owes $134,000.
Wow.
23 of the 217 units are for sale.
Wow, more than 10% of the building.
And the median price for a condo in Miami in last fourth quarter was $445,000. Today, that number's 220. It's half, 220,000.
Wow.
People's nest eggs are disappearing.
Yeah.
And if a developer comes in, they're going to probably pay you the 220.
You know, and again, this
And that's
is,
the only way you're going to sell it.
Right, and that's in our second story.
Yeah.
But
the
tell-
Summit Towers in Hollywood, which you were
Yeah.
talking about,
Mhm.
$56 million assessment. So
Wow.
they kicked their board out. Oh, okay. And the new board comes in. We're going to make more moderate approach to it.
You're going to make
How is
the
that gonna be?
approach that's required by the statute.
There's no moderate
Right,
approach.
right.
It's the approach that you have to
It's
take.
the approach that you have to take. Exactly, that's right.
They don't hold the cards.
I know in the Post story, there were some interesting comments that readers in New York were actually writing into.
Oh, yeah.
Those were really good.
Actually, yeah, they were from this article. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have it. So they're trying to blame the government because this is the new law, right? The condo boards kept costs down by ignoring large-scale repairs and upkeep. I feel bad for the owners of these units, but these laws should have been in place years ago.
Do you think so? Do you think so? Keep that in mind when we go to our next story.
And you've got the special session starting this week, or
Yep.
excuse me, the regular session starting this week.
Yes.
And lawmakers are not.
No, it's not going to
They
happen.
may come up with some way to loan you money.
Yeah.
Or get you money, but they're not going to change these
Yeah.
laws. Government was complicit in not inspecting these buildings properly. They allowed poor buildings to go up in the first
Love
place.
it. So it's funny, you're reading comments that are basically saying these new laws, they make perfect sense. It's just long overdue.
We have,
And now people are having to deal with the consequences of these laws.
yeah, sympathies to condo owners. Many retirees can't afford to live there anymore and can't sell them either. Main reason, as a retiree, never bought a condo is because I was afraid of the increases in fees.
Yeah.
Not gloating. My heart goes out to these people.
You know what? But if they would have paid these increases over time,
Yeah.
right? Just increased the contributions to your reserve, we wouldn't have the disaster that we
Right.
have today.
It
right?
is what it is,
Right.
right?
Exactly. It is right. It is what it is. Your bill came due because you didn't want to pay increases $30, $40 a month at a time. So now you got stuck with a
Well, they're going to
$56,000
moderate it now.
bill.
56 million.
Right, $56 million bill. I'm sorry.
Or
right.
135,000 per unit in
per
Miami.
unit. Right. Exactly.
And the cost of their so their unit is worth 220 and they have $135,000 assessment.
right.
So
It's-
really they're only going to get less than 100,000 out of their.
when you think about it, right? It's like
Is that accurate?
yes, it's like you're saying they only have like $70,000, $80,000
Yeah.
equity left in their home.
Right.
Potentially, yeah.
Realtor for
done.
40 years, I used to be amused by condo owners who would rally against expensive repairs or assessments until they were about a year away from selling. Suddenly they wanted everything ship shape.
Right. All of a sudden, I want to sell it. Hey,
Yeah,
what's
hey.
with this place? It looks like crap.
Why is there
'Cause-
water in the garage?
Right. Because now I want to sell. Right? Isn't
Yeah.
that the old story that's
Yeah.
happens time and again? Right? That the place looks like crap just before I want to sell it. Why wasn't anything done here for 30 years?
But we're talking nest eggs being just
Yeah.
completely exploded.
Well, I understand that, but I also understand that every single, most every single resident that lives in, let's say, 55 and over community, for example, most of them don't have a mortgage. They're sitting on a lot of money. And if they need to tap that money to pay for the repairs, then just that's what has to be done. What do you want me to say?
What are you
Sorry,
saying?
you're
Are you
not going to
saying
fix the building?
They're sitting on money equity in their
they-
home,
yes.
or they have money in savings?
No,
'Cause
no. They're sitting on equity in their home. In other words, most people
but
don't
they're
have
not
a
gonna
mortgage.
Get that equity.
Most people have no mortgage in their home.
Right.
Right. So their houses are worth
Oh, they
whatever
can
they're
take
worth.
a loan
Go
off
take
of
a
it.
loan and you're happy.
But then
on your
down the
property.
road, your kids are not going to get.
What do you want? You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Rob, chime in. But
So, okay,
can
that's
you have it
interesting.
both ways?
So
Where you don't want to make any repairs to your property, right? You don't want to make any repair. You don't want to put away any dollars whatsoever. And then when someone says, "Hey, listen, you got to tap into what you have," but that's my nest egg.
does
You
it?
can't have it both ways.
When you have is equity what the market value was last quarter,
Equity
or
is going to
now?
be what you have left basically after all these repairs are done.
But it's valued at a different price. So do you still have that equity difference? No.
Are you still going to have the equity in it? Yes, you're going to have the equity. When you go for a loan on that condo, it's going to be generally what's the appraisal value of that property.
Well, now it's
and what's left. Well,
$220,000.
did it go down a little? Yes. Do you still have equity in it within
that's
which
my
you
question.
could borrow and fix the property? Of course you do. Of
So
course
your
you do.
equity
You owe
is
zero.
different than what the value of the property
Yes,
is.
correct, correct. So that's story one, okay? That, again, is breaking as we sit here now in the New York Post. And again, what's troublesome about that story is the market that Floridians look to, I should say the buyers that Floridians look to come down here with cash is New Yorkers, people that are selling their expensive homes in the boroughs and in the island. They come down here with cash, but they're going to come down here now thinking that I'm going to steal everybody's unit. I'm going to get it for a song.
No, they're
And-
going to get big-footed by developers.
Yep. Story two. Okay, story two, exactly. So, amazing story in the Miami Herald yesterday. And that story tried to make a link between the attorneys on the Florida Bar Task Force, who generally represented developers.
Get
And this
this.
task force came out after the collapse of the Champlain Towers that was created by the Florida Bar. And again, they try to make this link between the attorneys on that task force and the fact that these new laws help developers take over aging buildings that need work.
And we've talked about this. It just takes, like, if you have your condo up for sale,
Yes.
but you have to make sure that no developers have been buying up units, because then it's moot. You're gonna lose.
Correct. Right. The question is, and what the task force, what's the article was trying to get at was, okay, you have these attorneys that generally were on the task force representing developers, and now is it a coincidence that all these new laws generally help developers take over properties, right? So is that why they came out, the Florida Bar Task Force, with these recommendations for increased fees so dramatically?
Are you calling these attorneys like
I'm
sharks,
not.
opportunistic
No,
sharks?
I am not. I will tell you that I don't think that was their intention at
Okay.
all. Did it happen to work out that way?
Okay.
Yes, it did work out that way. And that developer attorneys now, their clients are in a great position to take over properties.
Quite
You don't have to
honestly,
be a genius to know that.
that's the only way it's going to work. You can't
developers coming on?
spend
Yes.
$56 million to fix a 50-year-old property. It needs to be knocked
And-
down and rebuilt.
And that, again, that's why a lot of what the task force did was create these new laws that said, okay, we got to start having mandatory reserves, mandatory repairs. But when condos can't pay all this, who's it going to help?
Developer.
Their clients, developer. That's the link that the article tried to
But
make.
it makes sense.
That's the link that the article tried to make.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Do I think that was the deliberate effort of the people on that
It's just
that
reality.
task force? No. However, I'll tell you what troubled me. How did you get on that task force?
Ooh.
Okay, and I'm a member of the Florida Bar.
Yeah, how come you weren't on the
I
task
am. I will tell you that I would like to think I've taught more residents in the state of Florida that live in a condominium that probably every other attorney that I know combined,
It's
pretty
because
much.
you represent the
Well-
people who don't hold the cards.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get on that task force. I'd like to think I said I've taught more. I'd certainly like to think
You
I
know
have
more.
my thumb on the pulse of the people that live in the condominiums more than most attorneys, quite frankly. I mean, is anyone out there more and meeting with the public more than I? But for whatever reason, I wasn't asked to be on that Florida Bar Task Force.
Well,
That's all I
I
know.
have a problem with. So these units,
What I'm saying is, I'm sorry, Ken. Maybe that's something that the writer of the article wants to look at. How did you get on that task force? Who made up that task force, right? What were the
all
qualifications to be on that task force? Did the task force, was it comprised solely of attorneys that represented developers? Was it
set it up?
comprised of, there was one or two members who I'm not going to mention that, from what I understand, created this task force. How were they picked? What were they? Obviously, they were handpicked, right? Was it made up of attorneys who represented owners, right? Go check. Maybe those are things that need to be investigated. Those are things to be looked at, okay? Or was it made up primarily of attorneys who represented developers? Take a look at that. And then draw your own conclusions, right?
Well, we could have known this from the beginning if we looked at the makeup of the board. It would have been a telltale sign.
Hey, all I'm saying is maybe that's something that needs to be looked at, right? And I'd be curious, right, quite frankly, to see what those findings come out with.
I'll try to find out.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think is pretty important. But I'll say this. Here's where I think the article misses the mark in some respect. The article should focus on the fact that, yes, it's the developers and their attorneys, right, who quite frankly put us in the shape that we're in right now, okay? It's the developers and their attorneys who put us in the shape we're in right now. Why?
Kicking the reserves down the road?
Who do you think did that? The developers and their attorneys didn't want mandatory reserves ever to be put into a budget. Why? Because then developers would have to disclose really what it costs to run a condominium. So instead, developers were always able to put out a bullshit budget, right? That didn't include reserves, right? And then when you pass it on to the owners, oh, look, your budget is so small. It's only $200 a month. No, it's not $200 a month. It's $200 a month because it didn't include reserves.
And once they pass it on, it's no longer on their plate.
It's there, no problem on their plate. It's a fake budget. Developers always passed on a fake budget.
And now they come back in.
And now here, so now we have, on the back end, what do we have? Now the buildings collapsed, did terrible. And what do we have? And now we have, coincidentally, we have the new laws that now require all these fixes, all these reserves now. And who does it help yet again? It helps yet again developers. Okay, so who always got protected under Florida law? Developers, and that is what the next article needs to focus on. Okay.
I have a question about if you have a mortgage and your condo is now worth half, and you have to sell it to a developer for that. What happens to the bank?
The bank is owed every dollar as to what they're owed.
Who's going to pay that?
So a developer has to figure out a way to make sure everybody's mortgage gets paid.
Okay.
If not, why you're going to sell, right? You can't sell and be left still owning a mortgage.
So the developer will pay the mortgage?
Well, the developer has to offer you enough money so that you can pay your mortgage off. I didn't know that. You have the obligation to pay off your mortgage,
good thing.
Not the developer. Now, it gets a little more complicated when you want to do what's called a termination.
Oh. That's
a little different than just selling to a developer. A termination is another way to go. And if there's a termination plan has to be filed. And under that plan has to make sure that everybody's first mortgage gets paid. So it's complicated.
And that's for the whole building termination?
Yes. And again, who does good on that? Developers. Okay. All right. So.
Well, not really.
Who's always benefited?
Developers.
Who's going to benefit?
Developers.
Exactly. Who did the Florida legislature always kowtow to?
Developers.
Bingo. Okay, so there you go. And on that note, let's take our first break of the hour. Taking your calls, everybody. 717-452-9378. 717-452-9378. Or drop us a question or comment in the chat box on YouTube. Back right after this.
are very large management companies and there are very small management companies. And I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis, attorney Eric Glazer, who should have been on the task force. Crazy. Anyway, give us a call here in the studio. I think the phones are pretty much backed up, aren't they? 717-452-9378. We're taking calls about what we just discussed and, of course, your questions.
Absolutely, anything and everything. Again, this was all off the cuff this morning, so we had something totally different planned. I don't know if a lot of listeners were thinking about different questions.
You sent this out. Oh, yeah.
But keep them coming. Let's go.
Who we got?
Right, our first caller is Allison from Brickell Key.
Ooh,
Hey, Allison, how are you?
that's expensive.
Love
Hi,
that.
good morning. It's a very quick question.
Sure.
Does the condo board need to put out to a vote of all unit owners the president of the board's wish to replace our white balcony railings with clear glass? If that happened, it would be about a $20,000 assessment per unit. Can the board just make an overall decision on this without consulting the owners?
So that would generally be considered a material alteration of the common elements. Okay. However, Brickell Key is right on the water, right? You guys are right on the water, right off of Biscayne Bay. So there's some exceptions to the material alteration provisions of the law. One of which is it would make no sense to put back a material that you know is going to not work again. So if you're using aluminum railings and you get a qualified opinion from an expert engineer that says, do not put back aluminum railings. Aluminum railings fail when it's next to the water. Okay, aluminum railings will only last X number of years. I'm telling you, don't put it back. Then your board has the right to say, okay, look, it doesn't make sense that we put back aluminum railings. It's throwing your money out. We have an expert opinion that says don't do it. Therefore, it's not a material alteration. We can make the change.
That happened in my building.
It happened in your building too, without a vote?
Without a vote.
Without a vote. Okay, there you go. If you get an expert opinion that says don't do it.
Thank you. Except I know it's the president wants it for looks as opposed to safety.
Well,
and that hasn't happened yet.
There's no question that it looks better. I think it makes your units worth more, quite frankly. But it does not. I mean, there are arbitration cases that say this. You don't put back material that you know is going to not work simply because you think it's going to be a material alteration. It doesn't work that way. Okay?
Well, there is no safety issue, so it would just be something out there that he'd want to do for looks only. But anyway, I thank you very much for that because this now would give him a way to do it. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Take care. Keep them coming around.
You too. Bye.
All right, next caller is Robert from, looks like West Palm Beach.
How are you, Rob?
Yes, good morning. Thanks again for your program. I moved into a condo 2 years ago, and a two-story type unit, and I noticed after I got in there was some cracking on the landing entrance into the condo. So I contacted the board, and they said that they were going to consider getting an engineer come in and take a look at the project. That was 2 years ago. In the meantime, I found out that the previous work had been done on this landing was not permitted or done by a licensed contractor.
Oops.
So now I'm looking at either not being able to rent my unit or being out of it for 4 or 5 months while they do this repair.
Wow.
Does the association have a liability on this, or do I just have to eat it?
No, you certainly may have some liability here if they did the repair without permits and they knew they had to pull permits, and as a result potentially you're out of your unit now because potentially it got worse, it wasn't done right. Yeah, you potentially may have some sort of damage claim against them, but certainly can't make that decision based upon a phone call. There's a lot more we'd have to know in that regard.
So their insurance would pay it, not the
Correct.
not the owners.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Well, the liability policy would
Okay,
potentially pay that. Absolutely. If they.
Yeah, I hate to go against it, but the work was really sloppy, and now I'm concerned that it was how long ago it was done, and it's even worse than it was if they'd have done it correctly.
Exactly, and that's why you may, in fact, have a claim against the association. That's true. Exactly for the reason you just said.
Thank you much.
Okay, thank you. Next, Rob, who do we got?
Next caller, Janet from Tampa.
How are you, Janet?
Hi. Fine. How are you all?
Okay.
Thanks for taking my call. So we're an HOA, and my question is, our previous management companies, if a homeowner wanted some records, something simple, not a whole bunch, but maybe just one, previous minute meeting or maybe the most recent financial, they would email the property manager, and the property manager would email the record to them. We have a new management company, and they have decided that if any homeowner wants any records, they have to send a certified letter, and then they have to drive over and get copies. And that's time-consuming and expensive. So I'm looking at the Florida statute, and it says at the option of the association, by making the records available to a parcel owner electronically via the internet. So my question is, what can the homeowners do about this?
If you notice, that says at the option of the association. It's not at the option of the owner. It's at the option of the association. Then the association doesn't have to exercise that option. The association could do exactly what it's doing and say, you want the records, all we're required to do is give you access to it.
But they don't have to have a website?
That's why I knew you were going to ask me, right? The website, right? And this is why I say have a website where all your records are on there, as much as you can possibly put on there. And then the statute allows you to say, go take a look at the website.
But is it required for HOAs?
For HOAs, yes, it is
required.
Yes, now it is 100 homes or more. It is required. Is this an HOA?
Yeah.
This is an HOA.
Yeah, but we're only 84 homes.
So you don't need it. But you know what?
Yeah.
But so what?
But
have a website anyway. What's the difference between 84 homes and 100 homes? Does it really matter?
Yeah.
So have a website.
I agree with you, but you have an unreasonable board and a lazy
You did that math
company, so this is their easy way of doing it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like they're trying to, make it more difficult, so less people will do it.
But they're complying with the law.
Yeah.
But they are complying with the law. All they have to do is provide access to. They don't got to provide copies of. Okay? Let's do this. Let's take our bottom of the hour break. Keep the calls coming in. Yeah, just want to stay on time today because we went off script before. Call-in number?
Oh, yeah. The call-in number is 717-452-9378. And someone wrote, our board loves to use unlicensed people for repairs.
Objection. We'll be back right after this.
Rimkus Consultants offer the professional expertise to help condominium and cooperative communities provide safe, compliant buildings for their tenants. We have more than 170 Florida licensed engineers and architects who are experienced with local regulations and can assist with Senate Bill 4D compliance. We can help with milestone structural inspections, capital expenditure evaluations, structural integrity reserve studies, and developer transition reports. Focusing on energy, resilience, maintainability, and sustainability, our experts can help with every phase of the building life cycle. For mitigation after a catastrophic event, building restoration, repair and remediation consulting, or Senate Bill 4D inspections, please visit rimkus.com.
All over the world, people have plumbing problems. These problems can be expensive and destructive to fix. Have you ever wondered if there was a way to take care of your plumbing problems without destruction and an outrageous price tag? Welcome to Pipelining Technologies, Inc., where we specialize in fixing your problems without demolition and minimum cutting by means of pipelining. Pipelining is the ability to take a pipe damaged by root intrusion or long-term deterioration and make it new. By means of inserting an epoxy-saturated liner into the pipe and allowing it to harden or cure, leaving behind a brand new pipe.
That sounds great. How can I get pipelining in my home, commercial building, or condominium?
Simply fill out our online contact form and a pipelining representative will get in touch with you in a timely fashion, or call us directly at 561-853-5463.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer. He's board certified in community association law. Taking your calls and questions either in the chat box or on the phone, 717-452-9378, 717-452-9378.
Phones are stacked, the chat box too. Gail writes in, is it legal for a COA, condominium association, to have its election and annual meeting as a Zoom-only meeting where no owners can attend? No, that is absolutely not legal. Why? According to the statute, the unit owners have a right to drop off their ballots in person, and the association has to have waiting for them other empty ballots so they can vote in person, envelopes, exterior envelopes, interior envelopes. So no, you cannot do your annual meeting only by Zoom. Okay. 1126 Vidal, who I just met at a seminar, as a matter of fact, writes in and says, thank you for talking about the article in the New York Post. I say, thank God it doesn't affect my condo. Well, then I guess you live in something that's 3 stories or under, because it affects every condo.
2 stories or under.
2 stories or under, right,
and he's
exactly.
not near the water.
Thanks for correcting me in public, Karen. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm kidding.
No, it's just because I live in a building that's 3 stories.
I'm joking. It's your job, quite frankly, to correct me.
No.
But yeah, I didn't know how it does. It really affects. Now I do know. I'm not going to say what condo he lives in, but it affects every condo that, quite frankly, is 3 stories or more.
Yep.
And in Dade and Broward,
It does.
even those that are not 3 stories or more. Okay, back to the phones.
All right, next caller looks like Mel from Fort Myers. Correct me if I'm wrong with your name.
Mel? Fort Myers, you're there.
I hear you, Mel.
Fort Myers going once, twice. Okay, next.
All right, call back, Mel. We'll go to Judy in Broward County.
How are you, Judy?
Oh, hello. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I don't know. It's very troubling. May I ask a question, please?
Of course.
Can you turn a fine, a judgment, into an assessment for maintenance?
Okay, so the question, respectfully, it's kind of all over the place. So if you called it a fine, then you called it a judgment, right? So the question really is,
well, yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So the question is...
No, I was just going to say that if you're taken to court,
right,
and the judge signs a final judgment,
right,
and then the association turns that final judgment into an assessment for maintenance,
no,
so they can put a lien on the unit, is that legal?
No, I don't see it that way. If you're living in homestead property, okay, that's a judgment you have against you. And I think Florida's homestead laws are so strict. It's so difficult to kick somebody out of their homestead. And I don't think that, again, in a condo, you're not allowed to foreclose on somebody for an unpaid fine. So because you can't foreclose on somebody for an unpaid fine, I don't care that you turn it into an unpaid fine into a judgment. You're not going to be able to kick somebody out for failing to pay that unpaid fine, which you now turned into an unpaid judgment. Because the statute specifically says you can't foreclose on it. So why would you be able to now take that judgment and execute on it and kick somebody out of their house? So the answer is no, not going to happen. Absolutely no way as far as I'm concerned. Okay?
What statute number is that?
No, we're talking about you're protected by the Florida Constitution. Okay, the Florida Constitution protects you under the Florida Constitution's homestead provisions. That's what you want to rely on. It has nothing to do with the statute. Okay?
Oh, I see. I see. No, I was just going to say the person was taken to court to try to rescue one cat, and this developed, and it's been going on for 7 years.
Cat cases that go on for 7 years. Yes, that's true. That's true. I always say this.
Is the cat still alive?
Well, let
I
me.
haven't seen the cat for years.
Then it would be moot. Right?
This
The
was
cat's
my
dead.
mother's friend's cat.
Well,
She died, and her daughter threw her in the street.
she
And
died, so the cat's living alone all these years?
No, she threw it. The daughter threw the cat in the street. It was her mom's cat. She died, so she said, "Screw you, cat."
I'm lost. I don't think men can understand anything of what you just. I just can't.
And now it's become a maintenance fee.
Okay. In any event, what I do tell everybody at these seminars is I learned a long time ago that people will spend a lot more, anything it takes to keep their pet, far more than it would take to keep their spouse. You want to
big
kick out
time.
my spouse? Go ahead. But I will fight you to the death on whether or not I can keep my cat or dog. That's
I
for
know.
sure.
And you go to the vet, they see a bag of cash sitting in there with their dog.
Exactly. Next call.
All right, next caller is Michelle from Fort Lauderdale.
How are you, Michelle?
I'm good. I'm just looking for you to confirm a process for me. We had our annual meeting last week, and for members, and the owners were voting on an amendment which mandated a proposed amendment that would mandate all owners to put in hurricane doors and windows. So the results were 72 yes and 44 no. So if we accepted the results, it would not pass because we need 2/3 vote. So the thought was, the board thought they could keep, and they can, keep the vote open because proxies are good for 90 days.
Well, what makes you think
wait,
what makes you, who told you that you need a 2/3 vote?
Our bylaws to pass this amendment.
To pass an amendment, right. But the statute's a little different when it comes to requiring hurricane protection, all right? So if the documents say that the unit owners are the ones that's responsible for the windows, that can be forced by a majority vote of the unit owners. Okay, it will only take a majority. I'm sorry?
Okay, I get it. It wasn't done that way. It was done in the form of an amendment.
Okay.
The bylaw.
Okay, so now you want to say the board wants to keep it open?
Pardon? Yeah, they want to. So what's the process to keep the voting open? I think that the board has to have a meeting and then vote to keep it open. Is that how it works?
As long as the first meeting was what's called lawfully adjourned, then those limited proxies are good for up to another 90 days. Okay, those votes are good for up to another 90 days.
Okay, and the process would be if the board would hold a duly noted meeting 48 hours in advance, and with a majority of the board, they could keep this open, the voting open.
They can keep the voting open as long as the first meeting was lawfully adjourned. Okay, that's the answer to the question. Okay?
So
thank you so much.
You got it.
I don't know if this is true or not, but are you in favor of Ileana Garcia's 15% annual cap on reserves?
Yeah, I heard about something like that, that 15% annual cap. But I understand
Doesn't
people
that break the
want
law?
to. I'm sorry.
Doesn't that go against the law?
Yeah, it does now. Yes, absolutely. If people didn't put away reserves for 30 years, I'm sorry, and they have literally nothing. I spoke to a family member yesterday who owns a condo, an investment property in a condo in Aventura, no less, right? And there is zero money, zero in reserves.
Ooh.
So it's been waived 30 years in a row. So I'm sorry, that condominium, I'm not in favor of giving them a break at all whatsoever. I mean, zero, nada. You got to start funding your reserve account in what's required by law, period.
Would this 15% annual cap be put on the law that was passed as an amendment?
I don't know the exact specifics of it, quite frankly, but why am I in favor of, if somebody like had no reserves for 30 years, why am I in favor of, okay, they only have to do a little bit and a little bit? No, they need to put away enough money where if God forbid something happens in the building, that there's enough money to fix it. And by the way, all of that's going to come due now. So, like I said, I don't have much, sympathy in this regard. I really don't, but that's me. Okay, let's take our final break of the hour. Keep the calls coming in, 717-452-9378. Back right after this.
In South Florida, the transition from bright sunshine to heavy rain and hurricanes can take a toll on your property's exterior and structural integrity. Cracked stucco, spalled concrete, they're more than eyesores. They can signal deeper issues. Now, with new Florida laws involving structural integrity requirements, we want to help you meet your milestone inspections and maintain the durability and beauty of your building. Since 2004, PD has been the trusted expert in structural concrete restoration, painting, and waterproofing for condominiums and commercial properties. Visit pd-concrete.com or call us today.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
All right, welcome back to Condo Craze and HOAs here on our YouTube channel. Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer, asking him questions about anything crazy going on in your condo or HOA association. 717-452-9378.
See, so I'm looking at the statute that I was referring to in regards to our second to last caller, who said that the board, the association is voting, and they require a 2/3 vote in order to require the unit owners to install hurricane glass. Well, I'm looking at the statute. It's up on the screen behind me. The board may, subject to 718-306 and the approval of a majority of voting interests of the residential condominium or mixed-use condominium, install or require that unit owners install hurricane protection that complies with or exceeds the applicable building code. And that's why I argued with her that I thought it was a majority, and she's saying 2/3, and no, I'm still going with a majority.
Good for you.
Based upon the statute that I'm looking at. Okay, who do we got, Rob?
Next caller, I can't make out your name, but you're calling from Miami. When you hear a beep, you are live.
Yes, my name is Sue from Miami, and I'm calling to find out if the board has a fiduciary responsibility to allow or present to the unit owners the idea of a developer, whether we go out and seek it on our own or if somebody comes to us, or to really tell us the truth if it's worth fixing up.
Good idea.
That is a great
better
question.
option to sell.
That is a great question, because I've had several owners tell me that they found out after the fact that a developer has presented a proposal to everybody in the building, right, by letting the board of directors know about it. And one person on the board doesn't want to sell, so they bury it. Right?
No.
And I don't know if that's happened to
that has happened to me.
That has happened in your situation, Rob?
It's similar situation, though the developer was going unit owner to unit owner rather than going straight to the board, because they had an initial meeting just to kind of gauge interest, and they sensed that there was little interest from the board, so they started to go to try to acquire all the units.
Oh, that's kind of in reverse.
Yeah,
I've had
Can they do
situations
that?
where the board said, "No, we're not interested," without asking any other unit owner in the building if they're interested. So the question was, do I think they have a fiduciary duty to let the unit owners know that there's a developer out there who may want to buy? absolutely 100% unequivocally.
Well, if the developer doesn't hear back, he's going to go unit to unit anyway.
Well, maybe, maybe not, or walk away. So I think the unit owners absolutely have a right to know when a developer approaches the board and says, hey, we'd like to buy it out. Just pass it on to the unit owners.
By the way, the units that have fully funded reserves that are good, the condos that are good, the price of those condos, though, still drops.
Absolutely. Well, okay.
Or does it go up?
Look
I mean,
at
because you got supply and demand.
Look at how the article, I believe, the New York Post article ends, okay? Look at how the article ends. I believe it ends by saying exactly what I've said on the show many times, which is you got to get through this little patch, okay? And after you get through this little patch, and I'm positive it ends this way now, and it says Florida will have the safest, most well-reserved condos in the entire nation. And then wait till you see what they sell for. Okay. So let's get through this
I don't think
patch.
anyone can sell their condo now, even if you don't have
Okay,
problems.
then don't sell it. You got to get through this patch, fix it up. We're going to get through this difficult 3, 4, 5 year period, whatever it's going to be. And then we're sitting pretty. Florida will look great. So just get through this rough patch for now. You got to borrow to do it, fine. Condos, I would urge you, instead of making things difficult on your unit owners and saying, hey, you got to come up with all this money by Friday.
That's insane.
Right? Take out a 10-year loan. They're even going as high as like 14 years now.
And maybe the legislature will have some sort of a low interest loan for
Maybe
them.
that's correct. And we can certainly see more of that coming. But I don't see the laws changing in regards to, in terms of reducing the safety measures that are required. That I don't see. But yeah, maybe giving some more money out there to the owners to borrow, absolutely.
But developers won't like that. So they're not going to do it.
Maybe. Maybe. It remains to be seen. Next call.
Next caller, Catherine. Looks like Catherine.
Catherine.
Hey, Catherine.
Is this for Catherine Daly or another Catherine?
I think it's
Catherine Daly.
Catherine Daly?
You're
okay, thank you. Okay, I'm calling from Vero Beach. I have a question. We bought a condo here in December 2022, then left for a few months and came back, and some things came up with our condo, and we discovered that the estoppel certificate was that the seller provided and we received at the closing was in fact fraudulent. So we had a budget from 2008 and not 2022. Hidden reports and non-disclosure on an engineering report for a concrete study with a price tag hanging on it of about $570,000. And the worst building on the complex is the one we bought into.
Do you know?
How does that all look?
Do you know who gave you the fraudulent?
Yeah.
The fraudulent
the title
estoppel
company, but it was provided by the materials were provided by the board of directors, of course, and they gave it to the property management company.
Okay,
and the property management packaged it and printed it up.
Okay, so we're seeing a lot of these types of calls where people are now
they're fudging
in Catherine's position. Well, the people are in Catherine's position, and Catherine is saying we were lied to in the estoppel. Now, you got to be able to prove when you're asked, for example, are there any special assessments that have been passed? Sometimes you'll be able to show that they were discussing the potential for passing special assessments, but the special assessments were not actually
But her budget's
passed
from
yet.
2008.
Wait, when you say
The budget she got was from 2008.
so 2008 is 17 years ago. Are you telling me that the estoppel letter that you received was 17 years old?
No.
What am I missing?
No. The letter was to date, but it had various documents in it, and there was no current articles of corporation. It was for actually another association.
Okay.
And the budget should have been 2021, but it wasn't. It was 2008 in the estoppel certificate that was dated correctly. And most importantly, there was an engineering report that had been done or delivered to the board in February of the same year, February 2022, and it had been referenced in one of the minutes of the meeting. There's a one line reference to this engineering report, but it has never to date been published on the website or shown up anywhere. And this is a formal engineering study that the association paid $21,000 for, and no one knows about it.
Yeah, so
They
the
buried
question
it.
is, at the time that they gave you that estoppel letter, did they owe you that report? How, the question
did,
is,
yes.
okay, well, I'd have to see that. If they misled you in any way, then yes, you may be able to say, okay, you lied in the estoppel
You're off
report
the hook.
as a result. Or if the estoppel report is basically there to tell you generally what's going on with the building now.
But the
There's a lot of
contract
things
is
that have to
null
be,
and void.
and it's supposed to. Well, they're not a party to the contract.
Oh.
Okay, so the contract is between you and the seller. But is it potentially you have a claim for damages against the association? Yes.
But you're going to pay them.
But right. But those are generally difficult to prove. I can tell you, and I know Catherine's very adamant about what happened here, but I can tell you that those are generally difficult claims to prove.
Isn't that criminal,
so,
though?
Catherine, no, not necessarily. Catherine, give us a call off the air, 954-983-1112, because there's a lot that you have to look into as to whether or not the association actually lied to you.
So if it's not criminal, what's to stop these people from doing these fake estoppel letters?
The whole point of an estoppel letters, hold on. The whole point of an estoppel letter is, hey, before I buy this unit, what's owed on the unit? Do they delinquent in assessments? And if they give you the wrong number, and if they tell you that no, this unit is paid up in full, and it turns out that it's not, you're able to hold up that letter and say, no, you're stopped from now telling me money is owed.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose of really an estoppel letter. But if, as time went on, the statute was amended, and they now have to disclose certain other things to you, especially now after the collapse in Surfside. The copies of the reports, matter of fact, we're even going to go into some of that today. Okay, so yes, you're entitled to receive a whole bunch of documents now, a whole bunch of stuff from your seller. So I don't know if a lot of people have what's the word?
Buyer's remorse.
Buyer's remorse, right? Exactly. After buying it, and it turns out that there's all these special assessments that are now due, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the association lied to you. It may mean that you didn't ask the question
or you didn't
specific enough.
See, the budget was from 2008. Hello.
Yeah. Who do we got, Rob?
Let's go to next caller is I think Chuck or Dan. Sorry, the names come in twice right now.
Okay, who do we
Chuck
got?
or Dan?
Whoever's there. Chuck or
Hi,
Dan?
my name is Chuck. I'm calling from D-Land.
Okay, how are you?
And it's an HOA question. My HOA sent me a letter this year telling me they would no longer provide me with anything in writing. And last year, they sent us out a form asking whether or not we opted for in handwriting or in an electronic emails.
Wait, hold on. I don't understand that. Your HOA said they're not going to notify you of their requirements to notify you of things in writing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And you must provide an email address, otherwise you're not going to get notifications of things?
Nope, not even required an email address.
Oh, I love that one. That's an easy one. You're not under any responsibility whatsoever to provide your management company, your board with an email. You don't have to do that. If you want to get everything sent to you in the mail, you are absolutely allowed to under Florida law. And if they don't want to do that, the management company, that's not a position a management company wants to take, quite frankly. That could create a significant problem for them with the DBPR.
It's a board. It's not a management company.
Oh, okay.
And last year they specifically sent a letter asking us, the entire community, if we wanted to opt in or out. We chose out. I also made a photostat copy attached with that, which was with my HOA fee for the year.
Right.
Asking them to sign the copy, return it to me, acknowledging that they've received my request, saying, no, I do not wish to opt for electronic emails from them.
So, Chuck, everything you said is right on the money. You're absolutely correct. Do you know what your problem is? You're in an HOA. Who are you going to complain to? Right?
Well, yeah, and that's been the issue. They seem to like to stop. I've asked for many things and copies of things, and they decided not to provide me with any of it.
Yeah.
They've also been charging me $25 an additional fee for my HOA because I did ask for things in writing.
Oh,
the fun
man.
part is,
That's a good one. That's an easy one. That's a slam dunk against your association. Man, I hope they're listening. I really hope they're listening.
The whole board
because
together.
This is an easy one for you. You know, you probably have to demand pre-suit mediation on this. I'd have to check the statute. But if and when you go, they should certainly settle with you. And if you don't, sounds like a pretty easy case to win in court. So
and that's what I'm doing. I appreciate that you guys give us an opportunity to ask questions and help us out. This is my first HOA. This HOA has been a problem for the last 9 years.
I got a much more important question for you. Is it your last HOA?
I would like it to be. Unfortunately, I'm beginning to find out that it seems to be the norm in almost all states now.
Don't give up hope. There are a lot of good HOAs out there. There are a lot of good condos out there. You know, we take a lot of calls from angry people every week about what their board is doing. But I'll tell you something, we don't get enough calls, right? Thanking the good board members out there, right? Thanking the board members who volunteer their time week in and week out, day and night. The people who live in condos, who are woken up in the middle of the night with somebody complaining about a leak or a noise, right? How many people are dealing with that all the time?
Man, I was at the Parkland Country Club yesterday. It was thriving.
It's
the
real,
golf course and everything.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, summer
you never
summer
hear anything
great.
from them, do
Yep,
you? Anything? Yeah.
No. Yes. go
And
ahead.
we do appreciate everything they do. Unfortunately, it always seems to be they don't have enough time. They don't have to provide that for me. We don't have to answer that question.
That's
and
a
they
different
overlook a lot of
story.
questions.
Let me tell you
On
something.
the funnier part
Yeah.
was for my $25, they were supposed to send me information. What they did was the last week of December of 2024 sent me everything regarding when board meetings were happening, what the agenda was, not the outcomes, just what the agenda. And out of the 12 months they sent me, they missed October because they sent me 2 Novembers, plus a nice handwritten letter, not on HOA letterhead, that says, we apologize for not keeping you up to date.
Yeah, but they asked you for $25 for information. For $50, you get accurate information. See, that's the difference right there.
Oh, there you
All right.
go.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another show. All right. Thanks for really tuning into Condo Craze
big
and
show.
HOAs today. We had a crazy show today, right?
Yeah.
A lot went on today.
But a
If
lot
you
of
need-
people were on with us, so
yeah,
that's nice.
absolutely.
Tell your friends.
If you need legal help off the air, you can give Glazer and Sachs a call. 954-983-1112. 954-983-1112. You say tell your friends. We're really going to be in for a lot together over the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to find out what's going on, tune in every Sunday. It's an honor for all of us, the three of us, to be with you every Sunday. It's an honor every time we see the phone ring. We really are honored that you shared it. You care to ask us what we think, and it's an honor to spend every Sunday morning with all of you. Okay, we'll see you again next Sunday on Condo Craze and HOAs at 11 a.m. Everybody have a wonderful, safe week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Pip?